obligation, it's my job to continue to pass on the game to the guys that's coming in after me. You mentioned Ja, you mentioned Zion, you see Trae Young, you see Luka Doncic, you see Jason Tatum. You just see all these young guys. The league is in a very good place.
Race to the 2020 Kia NBA MVP is brought to you by the first ever Kia K5, official vehicle of the NBA.
I try not to focus in, MVP talks, who's the MVP and all that. My goal is to get better each day, to help my team win games, and everything will take care of itself. That's what happened last year. I was locked in winning games and helping my teammate, and it took care of itself. So that was my, my main focus.
As far as the MVP race, I think show what I'm capable of doing, not only individually, but from a team's perspective. Us being number one in the West, there was a lot of conversation about, LeBron can do those things in the East, but if he ever came to the West, what can he do? So, I heard all that, and to be able to have our team at the top of the Western Conference and playing the way that we were playing at that time and the way I was playing, that's definitely a good feeling.
Magic Johnson is one of 4 Lakers to have already won the MVP. LeBron would make it 5. No team has done that before. He's also not exactly an objective observer, but he's making his case for LeBron as MVP. Although for a guy who's recorded as many triple-doubles as Magic has, his triple-double math may be just a little bit off there. Speaking of bias, we're bringing in a couple of fans here who are definitely biased about their candidates for MVP. Giovanni Lim of the LA Lakers, who's been a fan forever, and Andy Grozowski from the Milwaukee Bucks. And guys, I'll ask you both to explain how deep your allegiances run. Giovanni, let's start with you. How far back do you go as a Lakers fan?
Oh, I've been a Lakers fan since I was 8 years old. It's been over 32 years. I'm a Lakers season ticket member for about 6 years now. I waited for 7 years on the wait list just to be a season ticket holder. And I've always loved the Lakers. I bleed purple and gold. I go to almost every game, and I love them. I love them.
And Andy, how far back do your Bucks memories go?
Oh, gosh. Lifelong Bucks fan, born and raised in the city of Milwaukee, and a great NBA household with my dad and my grandfather, who were huge Bucks fans, and we had tickets growing up. I personally have had season tickets for 9 or 10 seasons now, and yeah, we're Bucks through and through.
All right, Andy, give me your case for Giannis Antetokounmpo to win back-to-back MVPs.
I mean, what Giannis is doing this year is truly historic. I mean, with all due respect to LeBron, it's a great season. But Giannis had arguably one of the greatest seasons ever in NBA history, and every fact and number backs that up. I mean, I know there's a lot of sometimes narrative-driven type things that develop, whether that's in the media or in fan bases, that create a groundswell. And I think LeBron has that, and he's having a terrific season. But from real plus minus, where Giannis is basically at 8, and LeBron James is at 6.8. Giannis's efficiency rating, which I think is 31.9 right now, it's on pace to be the highest ever recorded in nearly 75 years of the NBA.
Andy's throwing some advanced metrics at us here, Giovanni. What's your counterpoint?
Well, what I have to say is Giannis is an awesome player, but with due respect to him, LeBron James, just like what Magic Johnson was saying, he's averaging nearly a triple-double. There's only been 5 NBA players that have finished the season with 25 points and 10 assists. LeBron James is about to be the 6th. And those 3 players out of those 5, I can name them right now. It's Harden, Westbrook, and Oscar Robertson. Basically, what LeBron James does is make everybody better around him. He's the team leader, and he came to the West for a reason, to prove all of the doubters wrong that he could win in the West. If you take a look at the Bucks' record right now, the 15 losses that they have, 9 of those losses are from Western Conference teams. So let's just bring the Milwaukee Bucks over to the Western Conference. The question will be, will they have a better record than the Lakers? Probably not. The Lakers are the #1 seed for a reason, and it's because of LeBron and what he's doing for this team.
You guys brought information to the table. I like this. These are all good arguments for both candidates. Giovanni, I'll go back to you here. You know, obviously, fans of their teams like to see their players win these awards. How important, how big of a deal is it to you that LeBron wins and becomes the first player ever to win MVPs with 3 different teams?
It's a huge deal, but honestly, as a Lakers fan, he's already our MVP. He told his teammates that he was given wide, broad shoulders for a reason. And not only did he put the team on his back, he put the whole city, the whole LA Laker fan base on his back after what happened on January 26th. He passed up Kobe in the all-time scoring list. He gave that heartfelt speech at Staples Center. And then a week later, he mimics that iconic dunk that Kobe did. He's our leader. This is the same LeBron James that was told to shut up and dribble. He was told he couldn't go back to Cleveland and win a championship, down 3-1 to the Warriors. And he was the one that was told that he couldn't go to the West and be successful there. So a motivated LeBron James is definitely something that the Laker fan base is excited to see. So whether he wins it or not, we have his back.
Andy, you hear the passion in Giovanni's voice when he talks about what LeBron means to the LA Lakers. What does Giannis Antetokounmpo mean to the city of Milwaukee?
He plays with like a tremendous amount of humility, and you pair that with probably one of the greatest physical kind of freaks the NBA's ever seen, and it's you couldn't even write a Disney movie that's as crazy as Giannis's story.
All right, guys, great arguments from both of you. Good luck to your candidates, and we appreciate your time. Andy Gorzalski with us from Milwaukee, Giovanni Lim from Los Angeles. Appreciate it.
All right,
Thank
go
you.
Bucks.
And more coming up here. Never too early to start looking at the 2021 MVP candidates, right? That award will be handed out in, let's see, March of 2022 at this rate, I think. But you've got some interesting names on here. Assuming that you're including the obvious folks like, Giannis and LeBron and Anthony Davis in addition to these guys.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love how everybody has conveniently forgotten that Kevin Durant and Steph Curry play in the NBA, Matt.
Yeah.
When they're healthy, they're obviously going to be right back in the mix. I think Joel Embiid had kind of a lost season this year. You factor him into the race going forward. And then Trae Young and Bradley Beal, 2 guys who had outstanding all-star seasons this year who didn't quite make the cut. I think they could potentially be guys who squeeze, into the mix going forward.
They both had great offensive seasons. Neither team will make the playoffs. How many more wins, how much more success do their teams need to have to really be in that conversation?
Oh, there's no doubt you have to have a sizable improvement in the win-loss column. And I think with the Wizards have, coming back and John Wall and what they've established now, they should be a team that's a factor in the East. And then the Hawks, I know they've been turning the corner forever, but at some point you figure it's got to happen. And when it does, it'll be because Trae Young is the leader of that pack.
He may be the light at the end of the tunnel, but it's a small light still here in Atlanta, for sure.
It's flickering.
Sekou, appreciate 2 MVPs. The last to do it, Canada's Steve Nash.
Just a phenomenal career, 2-time MVP. Is anybody better in the NBA right now than Steve Nash?
The rush the other way by Nash. Oh, what a pass. Yeah!
Great dribble by Nash. That was. And a foul.
Look at this, behind the back from Nash to Jay Rich. That is an incredible play.
Oh, Nash to Tim Thomas. Wow.
He tricked everyone in the building except Tim Thomas.
The 2-time MVP of the NBA.
And let's welcome in from those revolutionary Phoenix Suns teams of the mid-aughts, the 2005 and 2006 MVP Steve Nash, who's with us. And Steve, what has it meant to you to be a 2-time MVP?
Yeah, it's incredible. I think considering my journey to the league, 1 scholarship offer to Santa Clara University, coming in as a first-round pick, but I think still have my question marks amongst the pundits. To finally to put that on your resume after working so hard year after year to overcome and close the gap on the rest of the players in the world was an incredible feeling, and definitely some reward in there, but it would have been nice to have won a title.
Yep. As you know, there's no real criteria for those of us who vote on this award. It's whoever we decide is the MVP. As a winner, how do you think voters should go about deciding who the MVP is in a given season?
That's a great question. I'm not sure I have the answer. I think, though, that when you're talking about valuable, it's got to be something in the way they impact the team, the way they elevate their teammates, the way they give their team a chance to win every night. So it's not straightforward. I'm not really sure you could make a numerical case that everyone would agree with, but there's got to be an amalgamation, I think, of the statistical values that player creates, but also the way that they elevate their teammates.
Steve, I think that's a great point. You mentioned the impact on your team. I know there was a lot of controversy, and then there usually is when somebody wins an MVP, that people start making case for other guys. You had some other players in the league who played outstanding those years you won. What does it look like to you in retrospect, just in terms of winning the award in a season where guys like Kobe and LeBron and Shaq were all really at the height of their powers as well?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, it was a case of right place, right time. I went to Phoenix, had a team that really struggled prior to me arriving there, but had incredible pieces. And in a sense, I kind of tied all that together. So, while I'm never going to claim to have had the career that some of my competitors had, in those 2 seasons, we changed in many ways the way people looked at the game, and also took a team from a position where it wasn't working to where we were running people out of the gym most nights. So although we didn't win a championship, I think we had a huge impact on the league, and my teammates played a big role in that. And I was fortunate that for me, as someone who liked to make plays for others, I had some incredible targets to make plays for.
Steve, I don't know where you stand on the new numbers versus the old numbers. We'll share them with the audience here for the 3 finalists as I get into your thoughts on who has the edge this season. Giannis's on-off-court numbers are the best in the league. His per-minute numbers are ridiculous. Nobody's scored the way he has in as few minutes as he has this season. LeBron has been great, both obviously leading their conferences in terms of wins. Where do you stand right now? Who should be the 2020 MVP?
Well, I mean, you'd be happy with any of these guys. They're all incredible players, having historic, seasons and careers. I think it's hard to pick anyone other than Giannis, given that he won it last year. He's elevated his game and his team's game this year. He's probably the best defensive player in the league, putting together with his offensive contribution, the Bucks team as an offense, the way he's kind of a point center. He's so versatile at both ends of the floor. It's hard to not give it to him. But that doesn't mean that other guys aren't deserving. And I think also the depth of this award, there's guys 6, 7, 8 who can make cases for being MVPs. But at the top of it, I still think it'd be really hard to unseat Giannis as the MVP.
Yeah, when I look at Giannis, I think about the fact that, LeBron is playing with another top 10 player, in Anthony Davis. James Harden's playing with another top 10 player by most people's standards in Russell Westbrook. When I was going through my list and trying to figure out how you slot a guy's value, the fact that Giannis and Luka Doncic really elevate their teams to a level that they couldn't in any other situation. They don't have another guy on their team that's in that same stratosphere as a player. Does that make a difference at all to you, Steve? Just the fact that these guys have teams built around them and there's not another marquee player on that same level?
I think it does, but I think you could look at that both ways. Maybe LeBron would be even better statistically, but having AD there, I think, in some ways it does divide up the responsibilities. And I think, one of the things for LeBron is his continued excellence, historic excellence for so many years. He's kind of got to pick his spots, he can't have the impact, he can't play his highest level defense all season long. He's got to pick his spots to continue to be ready for the playoffs, mentally, physically, emotionally. Whereas Giannis, he's a young player. He does it all at both ends of the floor. There's no picking his spots, I think, because of the way he plays the game. Whereas LeBron is so intelligent, so gifted, such an incredible feel, makes his teammates better. In a sense, it's different with playing with Anthony and having to pick his spots at times defensively. That kind of gives, I think, Giannis the edge. But, LeBron James is one of the greatest players of all time by far, and is having an incredible season at a late stage in his career. And if he were to win it, he'd be well-deserving too.
Well, James Harden's about to lead the league in scoring for the 4th straight year, first to do that since Michael Jordan back in the 80s. And as you know, he's just a different animal offensively. We have not seen this version of an NBA player before. How do you evaluate his candidacy this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one because he is historically off the charts offensively. He's improved defensively. His team has improved too, over the course of the season to where now people are worried about them, whereas that wasn't always the case this season as they had some ups and downs. He just is. He's unguardable. He offensively, he does everything. And I mean this with the utmost respect, not only his skill level, but he's manipulated the rules in a way that I've very, very rarely seen someone be able to do. So maximum respect for him as an offensive player, as an MVP candidate, as a former MVP. I still don't know that he's had the impact on winning when you consider what Giannis has done with the Bucks this year.
Thanks, Steve. We appreciate it. Good to have you with us. Two-time MVP Steve Nash hashing out the candidacy of the 3 finalists for us. Stay safe.
Appreciate it, fellas. Okay, you too. Take care.
All right, more to come here.